everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be on homemade cinnamon rolls. These were probably the best cinnamon rolls I've ever had in my life. They were so delicious, especially the icing. Like, even if you don't make the cinnamon rolls, make the icing. I'm trying things a little bit differently though. I'm not showing you guys the ingredients first, just because I wanted to switch things up, you know, not always film the exact same way. So I'm basically starting with my softened unsalted butter in my mixer. Now I'm not using a dough hook, which is definitely a mistake. If you're going to use a paddle attachment, you're definitely going to need to take it out of your bowl, which you'll see I'll do later. But that was 1/3 cup of softened unsalted butter, and then I added 1/2 cup of sugar and 2 eggs. And we're literally just dumping all the ingredients into the bowl. So that's also 4 cups of flour. I put in a teaspoon of salt, and that's it for the actual dough. So you just want to mix that until it's just combined. And then on the side, before I started this, I had a package of active dry yeast and 1 cup of warm milk going so that the yeast can, you know, activate itself. So then I'm just pouring that mixture into the dry. And I do add a little bit more flour here in a minute. I'm not sure if I show it. But the reason you want a dough hook is because it's going to really work the gluten with the paddle attachment. It doesn't, I can't explain, but it like doesn't mix well or something. So honestly, it wasn't a huge deal to take it out of the bowl. So I just went ahead and scraped down the sides and everything and put it onto a lightly floured board. But you can see right now I'm just scraping off the paddle attachment, and I added just a little more flour. So then I'm realizing, okay, this is not going to work. I thought maybe my dough was too wet, and that's why I added more flour. But it wasn't. If I were to make these again, I would still do it the exact same way, mix it into the bowl, and then just dump it onto my countertop. So I literally kneaded it for like 2, maybe 3 minutes, just until it was nice and smooth. And this dough is very soft. It felt like a great dough, and that's what you want. You want a soft dough. You don't want a super dry, tough dough. So I'm going to take a bowl now and just put some vegetable oil in it, and then just rub it around the sides. I'm going to drop my ball in there and then roll that around. Make sure all the sides are coated so it doesn't stick. And then I'm just going to put a clean kitchen towel on top of that. And you want to let this rise for about an hour in a warm place. It needs to have doubled in size. If it didn't, like, literally looks exactly the same as it was before, then you definitely need to start over. Your yeast was not activated. Mine didn't quite double in size, but I could definitely tell. Like, you could see with the texture here, the yeast was definitely activated. It had maybe like just so close to doubled in size. So you can see to the left I have all my ingredients for the inside of the dough. So I'm just rolling it out, and you want it approximately 16 inches long and then 12 inches wide and 1/4 inch thick. I didn't get a perfect rectangle, but that's okay. It does not have to be perfect by any means. For me, I did it, I cut them a little bit smaller. I cut them maybe like 1/2 inch thick, and it made about 22 cinnamon rolls, but obviously depending on how big you cut them, you know, you can get more, you can get less out of this. So instead of mixing all the butter, the cinnamon, and the sugar into a bowl, I just went ahead and put it right onto the dough, honestly, just to not waste another bowl. So for the filling, it's just, you want to start up with your butter, which is 1/3 cup of softened unsalted butter, 1 cup of brown sugar packed, and 3 tablespoons of cinnamon. So you can see I spread my butter on with a palette knife and made sure it was just super thin and left a little bit of border on the edge. And then I did my 1 cup of brown sugar. I just sprinkled it on and then took my fingers and made sure I rubbed it so it was like evenly distributed. And then I took my 3 tablespoons of cinnamon, again just sprinkled that on, and then once I had all of it, I again rubbed it with my fingers. So now I'm just going to start to roll this, and the way you want to roll it is not just literally rolling it, but you want to roll and tuck, because if you just roll it, it's not going to be tight enough and it's just going to fall apart. So make sure you roll and tuck. You can kind of see the technique I'm doing here. I honestly have never worked with yeast before, never made my own doughs with yeast or bread, and these turned out so well. And honestly, it wasn't a ton of work. It was just a lot of like waiting around for the yeast to activate and waiting for it to rise and all this stuff. But honestly, I would totally make these again in a heartbeat. They were like so delicious. The best way to cut these is to use floss, like unflavored floss, but we only had mint floss in my house, so I just used a serrated knife, which literally works perfectly. I would recommend a serrated knife over just a plain knife. So I'm just doing this in a buttered 9 by 13 inch pan, and I'm putting them as close as I can, like together. And yeah, this is just me cutting the cinnamon rolls. You can see how good they look. Like seriously, these turned out so well. These will last in your fridge after you've cooked them for about 3 days. Just pop them into the microwave for about a minute, or anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute, just kind of depends. But longer than that, and even when you pop them into the microwave, they're like crunchy, so no more than 3 days. But they still taste like fresh out of the oven in 3 days. So I got, again, 20 out of like how big I cut them. So I'm just going to take a damp paper towel and just put that on top for them to rise again for another 30 minutes. And then I put them into a preheated 350-degree oven for about 20 minutes. Well, okay, the recipe says 20, but mine took about 33 minutes exactly. So now I'm just making the icing right here. Again, you just dump everything into the mixer. So it's 6 tablespoons of unsalted butter, 1½ cups of powdered sugar, 1/4 cup of cream cheese, 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, and 1/8 teaspoon of salt. And I whipped that for like 5 to 7 minutes. But you can see how the cinnamon rolls are just light brown. They're not super dark and they're not super light. Again, depending on how big you cut them and all that, that's going to depend on how long they take. So just make sure you check on them. I would check on no matter what size you did them on. Like anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes, just go ahead and check on them. So, of course you want to put your icing on when they're hot. If you were serving this like right away, just put it over the entire like batch. But because I obviously was not about to eat 20 of these in one sitting, I did eat 3, however, in one sitting. Alright, well I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and hopefully you will hit that subscribe button so you can see all my other videos I post. Bye!